welcome to Just Fab with Jess. I am super excited because I have a special guest all the way from T-Town, Texarkana, Arkansas, and she is just one of my bestest friends, and I just look up to her, and she just sharpens me so much, and she just inspires me to be a better person. So without further ado, this is Miss Carrie Lewis. Hey. Yay. Well, okay, so awesome. So she's my first guest, and I just kind of want to transition into Just Fab with Jess into more of other people's story, and just so you're not just hearing me saying the same thing over, because all I have for you really is the salvation call. It's just it's going to be the same subject every week. You know, I'm just going to tell you about Jesus, but I want you to see that other people struggle with what you struggle with, but other people are successful in overcoming those struggles. And so not just my story, but there's so many other people out there that have incredible, incredible stories, and one being Carrie Lewis. So, Carrie.
Yes.
I'm so glad you're here, friend.
I'm so glad I'm here with you.
You're amazing. She drove all the way here just for this.
She's amazing.
Stop it. Anyway, first question is, on my little mobile device, how was it like growing up in church? You're a church girl. You grew up in the church.
Growing up in church for me was, it was a bit of liking it and not liking it and really feeling forced to do it. And I'm super strong-willed, so there was a big struggle for me with it being just because my parents wanted me to go, but yet now having the thankfulness of those seeds planted in my life. So
Totally. So a struggle. Yeah, you just kind of wanted to do the opposite of what they were wanting you to do.
Rebellion.
It wasn't really real to you, right?
Yeah, it was not real to me.
Awesome. So what did you end up getting involved in after kind of going your own way? You're like, I got this. I'm going to run my own life.
Yes.
Where did that lead you?
It all started with relationship, because I was like, I don't drink, I don't go to the parties, but I dated a guy that my parents didn't like. I got involved sexually, and then there was a downward spiral from there.
Yeah. Into
drinking, later into drugs after high school, and so.
Yeah. So I totally think like the sex thing is what leads us into the pit. I think it's because emotionally.
Once that happened, it's like I felt distance from God.
Yeah.
Even though I knew He was there from the truth that I heard at church and stuff like that, and that tied my soul into someone else and into a bondage.
Yeah.
That then when that broke off, my soul was looking for something just to keep me satisfied. Apart from God.
Wow,
basically.
That's so good, because that goes into my next question for
awesome.
you. Did your life of sex, drugs, and alcohol ever truly fulfill the void that you were looking to fulfill?
I think, obviously, no.
Of course.
But I think there were times that I thought it did. In the Bible, it says sin's fun for a season.
Yeah.
I think that I thought that it was fun and fulfilling at times, but it always left me with a void later.
Right. So, you know, whether it was the next day, 3 months later into a relationship, or 6 months.
Yeah, like I think some of the times of me partying and drinking and meeting people, like I thought like I was like living the life, you know, and my parents were kind of on my tail, and later I just felt dead on the inside.
Yeah, because it only lasts for, like you said, a season. That's so good.
Yeah.
What was the moment like when God truly just wrecked your soul?
Well, that would be a long story, but it all started with my mom and people praying for me my whole life, and she was one answered prayer. I started working with her, and I could see the fruit of God in your life, and I wanted that. So there was a drawing process that the Lord was drawing me, but I had a moment, an encounter with God that changed me forever. I was on an airplane going to Sin City, Las Vegas, to party with a bunch of hairdressers and get drunk and have a good time. And she had actually let me borrow her iPod that only had Christian music. And I'm like,
whoops.
What is this? I did not know any of these songs.
Shut up.
And there was one song, Jeremy Camp, Walk by Faith, and it said, I will walk by faith and not by sight. And on that airplane, God's presence met me, and it radically changed my life forever. I truly surrendered my life to the Lord on that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So I take from that is no matter how fast we're heading one direction, the drawing of the Lord always draws us to that moment of, God, I can't do this anymore without you. Take control of my life.
Yeah.
And so, and then that goes into the process of, that goes into the next question. Looking back, can you see him weave into your life even in the darkest days?
And, I was actually thinking about this on the way up here. Growing up in church, there were seeds planted. The Bible talks about seed time and harvest. And though she harvested in my life, she was the one there to reap the benefit of every seed sown by me sitting under the truth in church. Right. My mom and my family praying prayers over me, different Sunday school teachers and different people. Definitely I felt the Lord in my life. Wow. There were times I was at church camp, or I was here, I went to this conference, or where I knew he was there. Even in my darkest days, having sex and not wanting to, and feeling the guilt and the shame and the wanting out, but then being tied into it, or the drugs and can't go to sleep on cocaine, and like, Lord, if you just let me go to sleep, but I knew he was there. Wow. I knew he was just waiting on me. All I had to do is just surrender, but I wasn't ready up until that point,
I think that could preach to all of us. All we have to do is surrender, and he's not going to force us into that surrender, but it has to be our decision. But it is one of the best decisions that we can ever make. I mean, life.
That's true freedom.
This is the best high ever.
And I think everyone's searching for freedom. And when I was drunk or doing whatever, I felt so free. But really, the freedom came in surrender. Yeah. Then I was free. Free from myself.
Exactly. And our own misery that we've created. Exactly. So, let's get to the exciting part of your story that I love so much. And I just admire and look up to you so much in this journey that you've been. So when you surrendered your life, you had a relationship, you broke up with that relationship, right? And then you took on this journey of being pure again.
Yeah.
And being, I guess there's a word, what is it?
Celibate
or whatever, yeah.
If you want to get technical.
But really just you fulfilled your relationships that you were having outside of with God. So that's, you can have that desire to want to do that, but after maybe 6 months to a year, that newness or excitement can wear off. Well, you're 5 years into this. Is that right?
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. I feel like I can tell these girls the consequences of a sexual act. They're, having sex with everybody, and this is what happens, and this is the consequences. But I can't really tell them the steps to become pure and to stay pure. I think it's very good for them, and I think, of course, that's what I want them to see. But I want them to see with you someone who truly did it. And so they can't say it's impossible. Because with God, all things are possible. Yeah. But I think you've walked in that obedience beautifully. So.
Well, and we overcome by our testimony. So I'm thankful that God's given me that testimony and he's done that work in me. And like you said, the 6 months, and then people are like, okay. I kind of remember being at that place where I'm like, I really wanted that purity, but 6 months to a year in, you're kind of like, okay, well, I at least want the Christian guy. I want to get married. So there's been a process for me with walking with the Lord, but God is a restoring God, and I signed a True Love's Weights when I was when I grew up in church, and I really meant that, but it was me and my own will saying, and my own stubbornness, like, well, I will save myself for marriage, you know, and though that never happened, that was one desire that I asked the Lord. I wanted to be pure. I wanted to be sexually pure until I got married, and so I'm a little bit past 5 years in that, and it is a struggle at times, but it's just been the grace of God on my life, and I'm so thankful that he has restored that to me, and it's taken not getting involved in the wrong relationships and tying my soul, because when you tie your soul in with someone else, ultimately we're designed and created to fulfill that feeling.
Desire.
Yeah, which he created for a husband and a wife, so the main thing that's kept me pure is not putting myself in a relationship outside of the will of God.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so good, because I think as young kids, we think, oh, we can do all these things of acting like we're in relationship with these people and treat them like they're our husbands. But the only act that's going to come out of that is the sexual act, because we're designed to do that. Yeah. So I know you're excited and ready to meet the one. And what is your hopes and dreams of him? What is he like? And I know that wasn't on our questions, but
I desire a man after God's heart, and I think everything else would fall into place. I mean, someone that's going to love me like Christ loved the church, which means they wouldn't want me to sacrifice my purity. You know, they would see that as a gift from God, you know, for my life and for theirs. Right. Someone that is, if they have a heart after God, that's the ultimate desire, then everything else would fall into place.
That's good. Yeah. That's so good. And I mean, you're living what you've talked. I mean, like, you've actually done it. So it's like now you're like just waiting to have that reward, I feel like that I don't know, your promised land. Like when you meet him, like you've been so obedient.
And I was thinking about the scripture that says, those who wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. They will mount up on wings like eagles. You know, even though I've waited, you know, and it's been the Lord strengthening me to continue that wait until...
Yeah. But 5 years ago, you wouldn't have said, I'm going to be single for 5 years and stay pure. No, that's not happening. But it's just constantly renewing your strength with him to know.
And he's worth it, you know, if I had to wait another 5, you know. Wow. And nobody wants to hear that side of the story. They want, like, I want to already have the ending to tell y'all, because if I would have heard this when I started, I ain't waiting 5 years. I ain't, you know, but he is so worth it. It's been a beautiful journey, and I mean, it's been his plan for my life.
So even on that, I think growing up in church, you could have had this life all along, but you chose to rebel once. And God's restored that double-fold, of course, like giving you this beautiful opportunity. So is there ever a temptation to rebel again, or is it just you feel so much of the void of Jesus and so much of his goodness you've seen for 5 years and his faithfulness and everything? It's not perfect life, but it has been rewarding. Is there any desire to go back or to mess that up?
I would say my first response to that would be no. But I think there's a place we get to where God's about what he will give us, and then there becomes a certain point in time in your relationship with the Lord where it's all about him. So I've crossed over that line, so I wouldn't go back, but I humbly say that, you know, because if a man thinks he stand, take heed lest you know, none of us are above falling, and we're tempted with ourselves every day. That's why Paul said we got to die daily. So, I mean, I'm still tempted with myself and doing my own way in certain things, but the void that he's filled in my heart, I don't ever want to go back, and I want him, and I put my trust in him to lead my life and plan it and ordain it. And I know how it was when I tried to do it my own way, and I don't want to do that because I know the consequence of that. So
I think even in the world standards, your life right now is empty. But in God's standards, your life is so full. And your voids are so full right now. All the voids that you have are so full. But all the world is trying to do is put things in the hole that is making the hole bigger. And so I think you're such a beautiful testimony. Although the world standards, you don't have, per se, a husband or kids or a family yet, but you have so much more than that. And you know who you are. And until you know who you are, God can't bring somebody else into your life because you won't be ready and you'll get the wrong person for your life. And I think I can't wait to see the end result. Like, that is exciting just to see what God has for you. So do you have any closing statements or anything?
I just want to say to anyone out there who's watching that you will never regret obedience, and that God's promises are true. And even if it takes 5 years, 6 years, you never regret it. Sin is regret, but obedience to the Lord is not. So I encourage you and challenge you in setting yourself apart for the one who is worth it all. So
wow, that's beautiful. Thank y'all so much for joining us with Just Fab with Jess, with Carrie Lewis as the guest. Until next time, thanks for
Bye.
joining us. Bye.